Right, so hello and welcome back to Books and Things. Today, time for another tag video. I'm going to be doing the musical theatre book tag. This was created by something like Lydia. I will link her original video down below, and I saw this on Melissa's channel, Melissa from the Bookish Babbler. She didn't tag me, but I thought this tag was so much fun that I had to do it anyway because I really love musicals, which is something I don't talk about much on this channel, but I do. Basically, just a few questions based around musicals. Thought it would be a bit of fun. So, let's start the tag.
It's time to try defying gravity.
Question 1. Wicked. Your favourite literary friendship? I think my favourite literary friendship currently is from a book that I have literally just finished, and that is Miss Pettigrew Lives for a Day by Winifred Watson. And the friendship in this that develops between Miss Pettigrew and Miss LaFosse is just... It warmed my heart so much, more than I can ever say. This book is so utterly beautiful. This book was written and set in the 1930s. It is about Miss Pettigrew, who is a governess of about 40, who accidentally ends up getting caught up for one day with the bright young things of London in the interwar period. And the friendship she develops with this young woman, Miss LaFosse, is just beautiful. Like, it made me so happy because they have this kind of part like surrogate mother-daughter relationship, but also just part like really lovely friendship, and it was just beautiful. It just, like, I wanted to cry with happiness. This book is great. But I also wanted to mention one other literary friendship, which is not a favourite in terms of being one that I, like, think is a nice friendship, but it's a really interesting, complicated, and I think in some ways realistic friendship, and that's the friendship from this, Dear Thief. This is a book by Samantha Harvey, who was one of my tutors on my MA, and she's absolutely brilliant. She's a lovely person, and I think her writing is so beautiful. And the whole book is a letter from one woman to another. This woman is writing to an old friend of hers who had slept with her husband, and the way the narrator explores the feelings she has for her old best friend, feelings of love and affection, but also of like hatred and anger, but also of forgiveness, and it's such a complicated dynamic. I think it's really realistic and really beautiful.
Attend the tale of Sweeney Todd.
Number 2, Sweeney Todd, your favourite villain. Now, if you've seen my Best of the Worst tag, which I will link down below, you all know that my favourite villain is Bradley Headstone from Our Mutual Friend. I adore Our Mutual Friend. It's my favourite book of all time. Do I need to say this again? Probably not. And one of my favourite characters in this is a man called Bradley Headstone, who is both a villain and yet also kind of a tragic hero in his own right. A bit like Sweeney Todd in the musical, actually. They're both characters who are not nice people, but you understand why, and you kind of feel for them even while you hate them and are terrified of them. That's what Bradley Headstone's like, that's what Sweeney Todd's like. This is a great book, he is a great character. I think he's Dickens's best villain because he's Dickens's most like well-rounded, complex villain, and I like that. It's great. Question 3, Phantom of the Opera. Your favourite love triangle. One is a modern one, and that is the love triangle in the Infernal Devices series by Cassandra Clare, because I feel like in YA series at the moment, love triangles are done an awful lot. But I have never read a love triangle I believed as much as I believed the Infernal Devices. I genuinely believed in all the emotions that were going on there. And I like that it was a love triangle that didn't involve rivalry exactly. It was much more complicated, I think, than a lot of other love triangles I've read, which I really like. The other one is a one from a classic, and that is the love triangle that takes place in Mary Barton by Elizabeth Gaskell. There is a lot more going on in Mary Barton than a love triangle, but the beginning of the novel sets up this love triangle, and you don't really know what way it's going to go, and the way it goes is not what you would expect, but it's so good and so well done, and the novel has such a brilliant, engaging, gripping plot. The fact that it begins with Mary Barton having this suitor who is a man from her own class, from the working class background, and then another man who is a more upper class suitor, and then things kind of go on from there, but it's so complicated and so good, and what a book. Cannot recommend it enough. Question 4, The Lion King. Your favourite sidekick. Time for another Dickens. I think my favourite sidekick in all of literature has to be Sam Weller from the Pickwick Papers. I love Charles Dickens's kind of minor characters and often his kind of sidekicks, if that is the right word to call them, which I think for Sam Weller it probably is. Sam Weller is the manservant to Mr. Pickwick, and he is hilarious. The things he says, his dialogue is just beautiful and brilliant, and I love the kind of friendship him and his master, Mr. Pickwick, have. I think it's so well done, and Sam Weller's like affection for him and his little like romance with Mary and just everything that goes on in the Pickwick Papers to do with Sam Weller is so good. It's not my favourite Dickens novel, but he is my favourite character in it, and I think he is a brilliant character to have, and such a kind of, he really does emphasise certain things about Mr. Pickwick, and it just, yeah, it works brilliantly. I think Sam Weller's great. Question 5 is Grease, your least favourite ending, which fits well because Grease is definitely not my favourite musical. I am not a massive fan of it. So, my least favourite ending in a book, I'm going to say Enduring Love by Ian McEwan. Enduring Love was a book that I read the first chapter and I was like, oh my god, this is brilliant, I'm going to love this so much. And then I read on, and I still liked it, and then I read on, and then I hated it so much by the time I finished it because it didn't go the way I thought it was going to go. It didn't work. Like, it wasn't just that I didn't like the narrator and so I didn't approve of what happened at the end of the novel to do with him, it was also that I didn't think it worked. Like, it felt like you were reading one book that was in one genre and suddenly it just got silly. It just felt like Ian McEwan didn't know what to do, so he made it really melodramatic and silly and it therefore didn't work. It felt exactly the same actually about What I Loved by Siri Hustev. I was quite liking it and then the ending got so over dramatic and melodramatic I just stopped believing it and I could no longer suspend my belief. I just felt completely like taken aback because I'd really liked it, and then suddenly the novel went in a new direction that felt it was a completely different book to the one I had started reading, and I got very angry. Question 6. Matilda the Musical. Your favourite adaptation of a book. I have two favourite screen adaptations of books. An adaptation of Big Fish by Daniel Wallace and this TV adaptation of North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. Both of these are so good. This is just beautiful. This adaptation is so good. There are things in it that they do wrong which irritate me, but I love it so much that I don't care because it's beautiful, and they take some of the dialogue from the actual book and they do the book such justice and it looks incredible. This is done brilliantly. The acting in it is superb and it's just perfect. And this is probably my favourite film ever. I've read the book and I do really like the book, but the book is very different to the film. The film takes the premise and the essence and the feeling of the book and makes it into something new. It doesn't take the story of the book completely. It takes the characters and, as I said, like the feeling and the atmosphere and the essence of it. It's the same premise, but it takes it in quite a different direction and changes the plot a lot. But this film is so good, so beautiful, just so amazing. Like, oh, it will make everybody cry. It's just the most beautiful film about life and truth and everything, and oh, it's so good. So good.
Do you hear the people sing?
Question 7. Les Miserables. Your favourite death. There is a death in a Dickens book which makes me sob my heart out and is so beautiful and so well done and so utterly brilliant. But I can't tell you which book it's from because I'm worried it will spoil it. And I think I'm just going to have to not say. I'm just going to say there is a death in a Dickens book that I think is one of the best literary deaths ever written, ever. Feel free to guess below which book you think it's from. I'm not going to tell you because I fear if you knew that there was a death in this book, you might guess who's going to die, and I can't let that happen because it is such a powerful scene. It is one of the most powerful things in all of literature and it's brilliant and it's so well done, and Dickens writes the best death scenes, which seems like a weird thing to love about an author, but he does. They're very good. I think they're very well done, personally. Anyway, so yes, that has been the musical theatre book tag. I hope you have enjoyed it. I had good fun doing it because I really love all of these musicals, except for Grease, which I'm not massively fond of. But anyway, but Les Miserables, I love it. Sweeney Todd, I love it so much, and everything that Sondheim has ever written is just perfect. Like Merrily We Roll Along, Into the Woods, Sunday in the Park with George. He's just like the best musical person. He's like the king of musicals. They're so good and they're so dark and complicated and not light and fluffy like some musicals are, and that makes me very happy. Wicked I adore so much. I used to be obsessed with it when I was a teenager. I probably still know all the words from my obsession when I was 15. I have seen it on stage several times, probably too many times. Phantom of the Opera I also love. Matilda, so good. One of my favourite new musicals. It's really, really good. So yes, look at all the music from all of these musicals that we have been talking about and be sure to let me know if you have read any of these books or seen any of these musicals and what you think of them. I'll be back on Monday with another video